And welcome back to our candidates sit down for primary election 2013. Diedrich Allen off camera. On camera is a candidate for City of Shelton Commissioner of Streets and Public Improvement, Gary M. Brumbaugh. Can I just call you Gary, right?
Yeah, let's go for Gary.
Okay, we'll call you Gary. Thank you, Gary. Gary, first take a couple of minutes to briefly tell everybody about you, your background, why you are running, and why you feel you are the best candidate.
All right. Well, my name is Gary Brumbaugh, and my name and address and phone number are in the Shelton phone directory. By the way, if you call and get a voice that is different than the one you're hearing right now, it's probably my son, who is also Gary Brumbaugh. So we're known by Gary 1 and Gary 2. So that'll get rid of that confusion if there is some. I was born and raised in a mill town called Everett, Washington, and it was not until my mom and dad took me on my first trip to Seattle to visit relatives that I understand that towns don't have to smell like hydrogen sulfide, otherwise rotten egg smell. So that was different. I went to parochial school for 8 years, and parochial elementary and junior high school for 8 years, and then I went to 3 years of public high school at Everett High. My interests at that time were history, science, and flying, and since this was the tail end of the 1950s and the launch of the first Russian satellite called Sputnik, and a call by the U.S. government for everybody to become engineers, I decided to go to Seattle University and become a chemical engineer when I graduated from high school, which I did. While at Seattle U, I studied chemical engineering. I ran and was elected to be a freshman student senator. I served on the Army ROTC drill team and joined a service fraternity. And my parents graciously paid for most of my first years of college, and I worked part-time as an auto parts store. After my freshman year, I came home and went to work for Weyerhaeuser Timber and worked on the tail end of the green chain for the summer. And now I found out what hard labor was. After 3 months of that job, I was offered a job as a representative for a home products manufacturer. And after about 6 months, I had to address the issue of being drafted, or maybe not being drafted and going into the U.S. Army Reserve, which I did. It's a 4-year program, and I did the first 6 months in California, and then I came back, and when I got back, I went to work for the Boeing Company and worked for the Aerospace Division and also the Boeing Scientific Research Lab, and in order to save money, so I go back to school. I finally back to the university and worked part-time, but switched from majors from chemical engineering to business and earned a bachelor's of commercial science with a minor in philosophy. Upon graduating, I worked for some major corporations, several smaller corporations, and was asked by one manufacturer to start up and run a small company that distributed service small business computers to small businesses, in which we taught the customers how to write their own software using a natural programming language. Based on that experience, I decided to become a school teacher, which I did for 9 years before moving to Shelton with my son Gary II on July 4th, 2003. We arrived at 11 o'clock at night, and what a wonderful display of fireworks did we witness along Hammersley Inlet, because we were renting a home on 3 acres of land in the agate area. Gorgeous, beautiful. So that was the country living. Then we came into Shelton, and in 2008 moved to a brand new house up in the Hillcrest area. Why are you running?
Why are you running? Yes, sir.
I have seen and experienced Shelton both as a country dweller and a city dweller. I see the difficulties the city has been experiencing for decades. Since I'm a history reader and my son, who was a college degree in history, we have been ongoing discussions. We've had ongoing discussions about what we read, research, and see in this beautiful town on the water. I believe, based on my experience and research, that some major changes need to be made now in order to save this town from total collapse in the near future and possibly this year. I'm running because a different voice needs to be officially heard in this town so that taxpayers will see that they have at least one voice on the city council that sees things from a different perspective. And as to the responsibility for streets, I see that they need to be broken down by priorities. I think the next one is, why do you feel you are the best candidate?
Yes.
Okay. I do not think it is a question of feelings, but rather one of knowledge and choices. I have knowledge, and other candidates have knowledge. And the winner, hopefully, will be chosen by the citizens of Shelton based on their perception of which individual has the most knowledge and correct attitude to resolve the problems that Shelton faces at this time in history. If elected, do you have a proposal or concept that would fund fixing the problem? Well, number one, potholes are the first priority.
Well, let me stop you there.
Okay.
Because I want to read the questions. And
Okay.
then let you answer your
I'll stop and look up and you read the question.
So the most obvious problem is this condition of the streets in the city of Shelton. If elected, do you have a proposal or a concept that would fix the that would fund fixing the problem? Would that include an increase in property taxes? Is there a way to pass that cost to those who use the streets but don't live in the city?
Okay.
Now you can tackle this one at a time or however you like to.
I do.
Okay.
Number one, potholes are the first priority. Number two, streets, curbs, gutters, and sidewalks are a second priority, because it's going to take a lot longer to do those. Potholes are a major problem because they are a direct cause of vehicular damage for citizens and visitors to our community. I propose the city get out of the direct repair of potholes and set up a bidding process for small companies, and I mean small companies, 1 or 2 man operations, who are located in Shelton. The city would be responsible for collecting the data for the citizenry via phone, email, faxes, or letters as to the locations of the potholes and handle the bidding process for the small companies who want to fill the potholes. After a contract has been completed, the city would be charged with evaluating the quality of the work by the small companies and keep a file for public access as to the quality of work done by these companies. Number two, streets, gutters, curbs and gutters and sidewalks are to be seen as the sole responsibility of the city because they have control over them. Residential and commercial lots are responsibility of their owners. Streets, curbs, gutters, and sidewalks should be sent out for public bid, but with the proviso that 20% of the workforce be residents of Shelton and 10% of the workforce of Mason County, for a total of 30%. I propose that the contract should have a 40-hour work week proviso with a maximum of 10% for overtime. Such contract provisions will provide for reduced staff for the city and expenses, and income for the workers who live locally in the county. So they would be able to buy our goods because they have work to do, and they're earning some money because of their own labors. If times get more difficult, then I would propose that the city cuts back the hours to 30 hours per week and hire more workers so that more people can be employed. Since the city of Shelton has a long history of not meeting its 6-year plans, I suggest that annual planning for streets, curbs, gutters, and sidewalks be done with an annual drawing on the first Monday after January 5th by students from each of the Shelton elementary and middle schools, both public and private, for the following year. So the drawing is held this year, but the work won't begin until the following year. Once the projects have been drawn by the students, they should be posted in the order that they were pulled in the main hall of the city for the public to see. Once a project has been completed and inspected by the city engineering department, the inspection documents should be made available for public access. No projects can be resubmitted until all Shelton has received its streets, curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. There won't be any politics involved. It's going to be the kids controlling it. And I don't think kids are going to have a problem. What include an increase? Okay, next question.
Okay, the next question is, where do you stand on the building sidewalks when it comes to developing infill lots?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Where do you stand on building sidewalks when it comes to developing infill lots?
Oh, okay. I am against this unjust method of forcing an infill lot owner to pay for something that should be the responsibility of the city, which is in control of the streets, curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. Telling a lot owner that he must pay for something that he does not own or control is unjust. I spoke with a contractor who was made by the city to pay $40,000 for a 40-foot curb, gutter, and sidewalk, no street, on this infill project here in Shelton. That's $1,000 per foot. He told me that he will never build another project in Shelton because of how he is treated by the city. The location of his project is 3 blocks from the nearest lot with a sidewalk. So he's the only one within 3 blocks that has a sidewalk and a gutter. To me, that is not a very good way for a city to attract able and professional contractors.
How would you improve the downtown area of Shelton? Do you have a vision for downtown? Is it more retail? Do we need something to attract people downtown?
Okay. I suggest that the bridge over Goldboro Creek be replaced with a 4-lane bridge so people can get into the town. Maybe they want to shop here, and for the people to get out of the town. I suggest that citizens of Shelton who are interested in such a project, and this has to do with the properties that are looking bad in our town.
Okay.
That's another suggestion. I suggest that citizens who are interested in such a project have an ongoing commitment to contact residential and commercial locations that have refuge and unsightly properties to clean up. Contact by committee members should be made in order to encourage the owner to clean up the property. However, if for some reason the owner is truly unable to clean up the property, the committee should contact a nearby church in order to get some help for that property owner. After all, that is what is good for neighbors. After all, that is what good neighbors are for. Number 3, if committee perceives the owner is capable of cleaning up his property, and after 2 respectful contacts, and with no results, that the local news organization should be contacted by the committee members, and a picture should be published in a local publication or online news operation. A little community pressure would do wonders for those who no longer care about their neighbors.
Okay.
Do I have vision for downtown?
Yes.
I view Shelton as having a potential of being a clean, thriving, and peaceful town that would attract visitors and others who may want to come and live here in tranquility with those who already have those qualities. Is it more retail? That will come if we work at it as citizens and city merchants. That's our job.
Do we need to attract, or what, do we need something downtown to attract people?
We already have it, but we're not working together to make it happen.
So what can the city do with its homeless problem?
Okay. That's very hits home to my heart because I was involved with that in another city for quite a few years. Number 1, you put the violent people in jail because they are violent towards their own people who are also homeless but who are not violent. You need to remove them from the streets. Number 2, provide work for those who can work and have work coming from those involved with a local church of their choice. Churches should be the center of this, not an independent agency. For those who are able and are willing, provide them with vouchers for work performed so they can shop at local-only retail stores of good repute. And 3, for those who are truly mentally ill, they need to have a lock provided for in a locked facility so they can be rehabilitated.
Now, you did touch on this, but where do you stand on the city's building abatement plan, and how should the city handle its derelict structures?
Well, that's a good one because my answer to that is that I've got to do more study in depth before I make a decision on that. I'm not ready to say anything at this point.
Okay. What do you think about the concept of requiring landlords to have a business license?
Landlords should not be licensed by the city. If a person does not like the way a landlord is maintaining the rental property, they will take their business elsewhere. The city has no business in that area. Other than the topics already discussed.
Yeah, that's okay. Other than the topics already discussed, what other issues or challenges do you see the city facing, and how would you propose dealing with that issue or issues?
Well, I can go on, but with ideas and suggestions, but I hope that I have given you and your viewers a chance to listen to some cogent ideas that are coming from me and my background and how I see things here in Shelton at this time. I would like to make a comment on the derelict structures.
Sure, go ahead.
I believe when the city arranges for a property to be sold, the owner will have responsibility of removing the derelict structure or repairing it, and that should be his choice because he's the customer. This could be an opportunity to employ the homeless in the demolition process if that owner decides that he's going to demolish the building. More jobs for the people in Shelton. Okay. As kind of a wrap-up, I would like to say that For those who are watching and listening, I would like to visit with you personally so I can find out what you think I should be doing as your Commissioner of Streets and Improvements after the election on August 6th. I consider myself a public servant when running for this position and will do my best to do an equitable and just job for you, the taxpayer. For you who are in town during the day, I will make myself available at 2 o'clock until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and for those people coming in later, from 6 o'clock until 6:55 on Mondays and Wednesdays at the Reed Public Library in downtown Shelton from now until the election on August 5th. I plan to retype my notes, and if you're interested and you come and see me, we can arrange for a copy of these notes to be given to you so you can study them on your own. Diedrich, I thank you very much for making this interview possible, and for you viewers and listeners, I thank you for your time, and I do hope that you will vote for me on August 6th. Thank you very much.
Okay. Gary Brumbaugh, running for City Commissioner of Streets and Public Improvement in the City of Shelton. Thanks for taking some time.
You're welcome.